Hi there, this is Photography of Director podcast, and my name is Vitaly Boxer. I'm a cinematographer and I work on all sorts of different projects, and I've decided to do a podcast about other filmmakers. Today on the show we have Richard Lemay, and he's a director, he's a writer, he's a producer, and I have shot his last two films, one being Bloodline, which will actually have a sneak preview of a scene. He's cutting it right now, but he was kind enough to give us a scene to watch, and it's sort of in the middle of the podcast, so check it out. And also, we discuss Naked As We Came, which is the previous film I shot with him that did quite well at the festival circuit and got sold and actually had a small theatrical run. And one note about the podcast, we had some internet issues, so you'll see a little bit more cutting than I prefer to have, but it was unavoidable because of the bad internet connection we had for some parts of it. But you won't even notice if you're just listening to the audio version. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes with a video or audio only feed. Just look up Photography of Director. And all the links to the films we chat about can be found on photographyofdirector.com. Please enjoy the show.
Let's do this.
Okay, welcome to Photography of Director. I'm Vitaly Boxer, and joining me is Richard Lemay, who's also, who's a director and a producer and a writer. And what else are you? You do too many jobs, man.
I'm a circus clown.
So tell us, how did you get started? Well, tell us about you first, but then tell us, how did you get started in directing? Because you have an interesting story.
Well, I went to school for physical therapy, and so I took a job as a traveling physical therapist. And in my travels, I stumbled into an acting career. And I did pretty good. I did commercials and plays, and I ended up doing 5 feature films as an actor. And the last one I did was a made-for-USA movie. I'm not going to say the name of it. I was third lead, and I remember thinking that the director had won a Directors Guild Award, and I'd never met anyone who didn't care about what he was doing less. And I thought, if this guy can make a living as a director, anybody can. And so I shot my first movie the year after that.
Right, so a failure in another human being.
Well, no, you know what it was?
Made you want to be a director.
No, you know what it was when you can see that you have actors and a crew who want to make something great, and the 2 people in charge don't give a shit. And to me, I just thought I would run this different. And I think I have in everything I've done since.
You skipped a lot. You skipped a lot, though. I mean, when you first directed your first piece, how old were you? If you don't mind talking about age, I'm not sure.
I was 29 when I directed my first movie, a co-wrote, co-produced, co-directed. It was a mess of a movie, but it was a lot of fun to make. And I realized that in between all that stuff, I also took a sabbatical from work, and I went to the School of the Arts in North Carolina to study drama. And I took it really serious, and I don't miss acting. I think everything I did took me to directing. And I think one of my strengths is I work well with actors. And I enjoy that.
And you took... what's interesting about you is that you do work. I mean, I've been on sets with you. That's why you're here. You take the acting portion extremely seriously. Like, you work with these people for months before they even get in front of a camera. And do you know how many directors don't do that? Everyone, almost.
Well, I have lofty goals. I don't know if I'll make it, but I want to be working with A-list talent. I want people to see that, I'm taking this shit serious, so I want everyone to.
Right. No, I agree with you, and I love it. That's why I think we have a good relationship, because when we first met, I think you told me this back, but I said, we're going to have a problem.
I remember.
I love lighting, and you love directing, that's a time waster.
I know.
But anyway, we made some beautiful images.
Right?
What'd you say? What?
I said, look what we made.
Yeah, we made some good stuff, which we'll talk about soon. So... But you did not follow the conventional, I'm going to go to film school path, I'm going to do that, which is also, no. I mean, how did you even get into the acting thing?
It was a long story, but ultimately I met someone who, and it is a long story, so I'll cut it to the quick.
Well, I'm going to mention this because I know you were a beefcake. That's why.
Yeah, back in the day.
You were cut up, right? You were exercising, you were cut up, you were actually in a shape I wish I could be in one day.
Me too. But that's all gone. But someone asked me to do a commercial, and I said, yeah, why not? And the clients liked me, and I got to do another one. And so I remember thinking that was the easiest money, right?
As a cat pops into frame, by the way, for anyone watching the video feed.
I said, that's the easiest money. Yeah, and I thought, I'm going to pursue this. So I was in Texas at the time. I moved to North Carolina, and I got involved with an agency there. And I started doing all kinds of stuff, commercials and industrials. I was making good money. And then towards the end of that, I actually did 5 feature films back to back, and out of Atlanta. And so I got my SAG card. I made some good money. The movies I don't think were great movies, but I was on set just paying attention. And I think at that point, I'm in my late 20s. I didn't want to go back to school for film, but I also knew I didn't know what I was doing. So I just started to shoot my own films. And my first one I did was on Super 16. And we were going to do a blow up to 35, but we didn't have the money, so we did a blow down to 16. And did a couple festivals. It won an award. It wasn't very good, but I learned a lot. And then I just started making more of these like no budget things. I bought a Canon XL1. I was shooting it. I was doing everything. I edited 2 features. I shot 2 features.
I mean, that's that's a determined motherfucker to do that, honestly, because that's a lot of work. Nobody.
It's a lot of work, but if you have passion for it, then the work is part of the fun, I think.
So what is the first feature did you sell these beginning features? Did they actually get distributed?
I actually, the first one I ever did got I got one deal in the Isle of Cyprus.
Where the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a tiny island off of Greece, Right. It didn't do anything. It didn't make any money. It wasn't a good film, but I learned a lot. And so,
and you wrote these movies, right? These are movies you wrote, directed, produced, edited, like the full thing.
And that one was on film, so it was a crew. But the one after that, I got a Canon XL1, and I bought like an adapter for sound. I got the microphone, and I was shooting my own stuff. I shot 3 features on a Canon XL1.
Oh, you started DPing too? Is this what you're telling me?
I DP'd 2 of them.
No wonder it looks like shit.
What's that?
I said, no wonder it looks like shit.
Exactly. But that is the truth. But my fear was that if I was going to work with professionals someday, I wouldn't know how to have a conversation with them. So I think in some regards I took the long way, but I've been working steadily. Whether I was making money or anything worth looking at is another story. But I just kept moving. So and it all took me to wherever I am now. I don't know what that is, but.
So we'll talk about where you currently are, but in some regards you're a successful director. Let's just cover you for a bit. You've shot 5 features that have, you've shot 5 features that have all sold, or 4 features that have all sold in the past?
4 of them have sold internationally.
So I mean, that's
four of them have sold internationally, and the 5th will be Bloodline.
Right. That's the current one you're working on. You're actually in post right now, which we'll talk about. Right. So I'm saying that's, in a lot of respects, that's a successful director who can actually make a movie, sell it, make another one, sell it, make another one. That's a hard thing to do, obviously.
Yeah, I've been fortunate.
Yeah, and you look like you've been through the ringer. You look tired.
Thanks.
You didn't even shave for the podcast. Right? What about all the video listeners or watchers, All right, so let's go to the first successful. Well, I mean, this was one of your most successful movies. Wasn't it 200 American?
200 American, yeah. That was, I wrote, produced, directed. I gave the DP a credit away, but I was the DP. I did wardrobe, and I edited that movie. I did that, and I remember sending it to film festivals, and I said, no one's going to want this movie. And I just put it out and said, if it finds a home, great. If not, whatever. It's a great learning experience.
Well, I want to hear that story, but tell us what the movie's about first. Let me show them. I'm going to show them actually a bit, the people watching this. And and then we'll talk more in detail. But what is the movie about?
The movie is about an Australian hustler, a male hustler living in the United States, and he charges $200 American, and he's trying to avoid. He's raising money so he can marry a woman for his visa,
Well,
and
what is he charging for again? Let us know.
He's a hustler. He's a prostitute.
Okay, I wanted you to say it.
Well, I did. I said hustler.
Hey, that's not the same. Sex worker.
Oh, Jesus. All right, so he's a sex worker from Australia. And he charges $200. And it's kind of his story. It's really about him getting out of it, really. That's kind of the crux of it. But it had a happy ending. And it's a gay theme. And I remember... so I put it out there. Am I jumping ahead, or should I just leave it?
Oh yeah, let me show them. Let me quickly show them just the actual trailer. Okay, give me a sec.
Okay.
$200? How can you justify paying somebody $200 for something you can get for free? Take off your shirt.
If you could be anything, what would you be?
A photographer, okay?
There, you see? What was so hard about that?
Now the pants.
There's that control thing again.
How else was I going to come up with $10,000 as an illegal alien in New York?
I don't need any of my...
So just wanted to show a bit, obviously, so people know what we're just discussing. So this was your first film that actually you sold, right? You made others before, a couple, but this is the first one that this sort of went big, right?
It kind of did. And yeah, so when I'd finished it, I thought it was a piece of shit. And a friend of mine said, it's the only thing you have. Why don't you just put it out there? And so I just sent it out to film festivals. And literally within 3 weeks, Austin Film Festival and the North Carolina Gay and Lesbian Film Festival were having a tug of war over who would get world premiere. And that was kind of fun for me. And then it literally sold out in every film festival around the world. Like, it was just crazy. It didn't win any awards, but it just was like a crowd pleaser. And it's a gay theme. And one of the things that was kind of surprising was at a bunch of film festivals, actually, people would line up to just shake my hand and say thank you for a happy ending. Because I guess in that genre, there weren't a whole lot of happy endings. And so that kind of struck me as interesting. But yeah, it sold internationally, I think in 16 countries. And yeah, I think everyone got rich off it except me.
You did see a little bit from it, I hope.
Yeah, I saw money from it, but you know, I was definitely taken advantage of, and I don't begrudge that. I think I learned a lot.
Right, because it was your first film, so like every first filmmaker is fucked, basically.
Yeah, and that was it. I got like pig fucked dry, and it was. I never ever got upset about it. I remember thinking, "Wow, I'm being taken advantage of." But at the same time, I was like, "Oh, but people like the film," and so I kind of just. You know, learned what I could and moved on to the next one.
Well, this is good, actually. I mean, I don't know if this is important even for people listening. How did they, give us an example. How did people take advantage of you in the film? Was it in the contracts? Was it the lawyers? Was it the distributors? Who was it?
You know, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus because, you know, you live and learn. I think my U.S. distributors were good to me in a lot of ways, so I won't say anything about them.
Sure.
But for instance, in the contract, they're giving me $10,000 up front as minimum guarantee, and then in the contract, I have to buy E&O insurance, which is $10,000. So, you know, that's a clean slate right there.
And you didn't know, when you were going into it, you didn't understand that, or what was
I didn't understand that, so now that's always in my contract ever since. You know, I don't want to pay for E&O, and I fight for that. And so that's, you know, like I said, I learned what I could. My European distributors, they basically, after they gave me the minimum guarantee, I never heard from them again. And I would send them letters. I'd send threatening letters. You know, I'm going to audit you. I'm going to do it. They're like, great. Let us know when the auditor comes. Because they knew I didn't have the money to do it.
So you never actually audited these people?
No, that takes a lot of money. And so I just started to focus on what's next. You know, the movie was kind of having a really great international life. it did festivals all around the globe. Like I said, it sold in 16 countries. And I just moved on. I moved to the next project. So
right. Instead of being involved in a legal battle probably for decades.
Well, I mean, isn't it like we can all sit and gripe and try to fight the system, but at the end of the day, they have more money than you and they have more time than you. And, you know, I really just tried to embrace the good stuff that came from it. The fact that I was a director who had a film get worldwide distribution, and, you know, that felt really good.
So what happened, I mean, after that massive success, especially the film festival success, did you get approached by someone to take over and help manage your career? Did someone throw money at your second movie? Like, what went on?
Well, a lot of distributors were asking about what's next. And so I didn't know what was next. And so someone approached me and they said, why don't we make a movie as a follow-up to 200 American, and I'll pay for it. This is an Emmy Award winning writer. He wrote it, and I would direct it, and we both would produce it. And so I said, yeah, without thinking, really. And now this guy's a great guy, so I don't want to badmouth him. He's a great guy, but we have a different aesthetic. And, you know, that's a lesson right there. You know, never work with someone unless you know you guys are on the same page, because we weren't on the same page ever. And that's not to his discredit. It's two different mindsets.
So did you make that movie, or no, that was never made?
That's Whirlwind.
Got it. Okay, so we're talking about Whirlwind. Actually, why don't I show it real quick? Just a couple of seconds. It's up to you. Should I?
I say no. I think that's a chapter in my life I try to learn from, and I don't ever want to look at it again.
All right, it'll be on the website, folks.
Yeah, if anyone's curious, you can find it on YouTube. I mean, it's that's another one. It got worldwide distribution. It won 2 awards. But
so it did well, actually.
It did, and then at the same time,
well, it got distributed. It got picked up. You're saying got distributed, and it won 2 awards. So technically, I mean, did you get paid for it? Was there income from it?
I've made a little money off it, yeah. But you know, at the end of the day, when I look at that movie, it doesn't speak to who I am or a story that I really wanted to tell. There's nothing about it that says, like, Richard Lemay. And, you know, like I said, it's a great learning experience. I do it again.
Right. And that was another gay-themed movie.
It was.
So do you want to discuss that? Why do you have multiple gay-themed movies? Well,
I was making movies, and I realized that, you know, I did one about a family. I did a romantic comedy. No one wants that stuff unless you have names. And so I started thinking, what could I make and possibly sell? Because I'd like to be, you know, working on the career, not just my craft. And so I knew that there was a huge need for gay content. I started making gay movies. And that's how it started with 200 American. That was the first one.
Have you ever heard of horror movies?
Exactly what I wanted.
Have you ever heard of horror movies? Everybody decides to make horror movies.
Well, you know what, though? Yeah.
And which we did, by the way, on the 5th one. So, but what happened? Why'd you wait 4 movies?
Well, here's the deal. I think horror movies are really hard to get something original with integrity that actually say something, I think. And I didn't want to make one of those movies because everyone does that. And so it took me a long time to get to Bloodline that we shot. And I think Bloodline's a really weird, kind of cool film. I don't know if anyone else will think so, but I do. I think it's got some great authentic scares, and it's got real human emotion going on in it. So in that regard, I'm very proud of it. And an original monster that looks amazing. And so
yeah, just to give the folks some context, Richard and I, this past year in October, around there? September, October 2014, we shot sort of a horror movie, but it's a drama horror movie. It's not really like
a supernatural thriller.
Okay, there you go. Supernatural thriller. And yeah, I mean, there is a monster, of course. He shows up a couple of times here and there, but really it's about the drama of the situation. So that's what we did. And Richard is in post right now, actually working on it. He raised money for further, right? Because you spent all the money during production. You needed to raise more money for post, right?
Right. So which I did, and then I had to go. Now I have to raise more.
Right. Now you have to raise more. Welcome to filmmaking 101. You'll always need more money. So yeah, movies are expensive, obviously. So,
yes.
Well, let's skip ahead. We'll go back too, but tell us a little bit about, because you made 4 gay content movies basically that did well, that sold, and then all of a sudden, I do want to talk about the previous one because we shot that one too, and it was really good. Because I shot it, but but it was really good. It was a good,
yes,
well written, well acted, blah blah blah. But let's skip ahead just because you're working on this currently, and tell us. I mean, why did you just stop and decide to do a horror movie after all of that? What is that mental process? Is it just I want to be in the business of making, actually selling it, and was it more of a business decision?
It's definitely a business decision. I think, like I said, my original intent when I got into gay themed films was to be working on my career while working on my craft. And I think I have learned how to make a movie, and there's still more to learn. I've got a lot more to go, but I think it just took. I think a lot of more. I didn't have any self-worth. I didn't go to film school. I kept thinking I don't know enough. And so just to cut back, after Whirlwind, I was kind of disheartened by the experience. And I got a job producing Children of God in the Bahamas. And, I realized it was a pretty amazing experience because I got to use all the knowledge I had gained making these tiny films.
How did you get that? I mean, how did someone just decide, hey, let me give, because this is a bigger budget, right? This is a way bigger budget movie than the other ones.
Well, it was only, I think we shot it for $300,000, and then we had to raise another 100 for post.
Oh, so total was 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so still indie, but more than your other ones.
Still indie, more than my other ones, and it looks epic. It's a beautiful film in every way, I think. But
well, why don't I show it first, and we'll continue just so we keep this in
Sure.
order then.
But I've checked it. I've checked it twice. You need to bring your husband in here so I can test him as well.
Slut.
How can you say that? I'm the mother of your child.
Who says that's even true?
You're failing. We're gonna take your scholarship.
Why? My technique is better than any of the other students here.
I'm not gonna dispute that. It's what got you in here. But technique without emotion is...
So I'll let people obviously watch it themselves on my site if they want to, but that looks like a way, compared to 200 American, that's a whole other level, obviously.
yes.
So how did you get to that level that fast? I mean, that's only a few years, right?
It is only a few years, but I went to a film festival. My DP from Whirlwind shot Children of God as well. And he introduced me to the director, and I went to a film festival and met the director and watched the movie, and I was really blown away by it. Oh, no, not the movie. He had a short film called Float, and I watched that. And we were just talking, and we got along really well. And he said, do you know any producers? And I was like, I'm a producer. And we started talking, and that was that. So I went out there, and I think it was a hard shoot. It was one of the hardest things I ever did, actually. But that said,
where did you go? Where did you go? Why was it hard?
And the movie went on to win 22 awards internationally, sold in 27 countries.
Where did you go? Why was it hard?
Well, we were in the Bahamas and we were island hopping, and I think at the end of at the end of 2 weeks, I think everybody realized it's not easy to replace crew members in the Bahamas, and it's the low budget, so people aren't getting paid a lot, and they're pissed off, and they just started having a good time. There were parties every night, and everyone for set every day, and everything was getting, cars were getting smashed, and every piece of equipment was getting bashed. It was just, the original title of the movie was called Daybreak, and the joke was daybreak your shit.
So you're basically saying the crew was hard to work with over there, the crew you brought.
Everything was hard. It was like dealing with everything over there. It was I don't think I factored in the fact that I was going to do an international feature film. We're not in the States. It's a different laws apply. I didn't know that till I set foot in the Bahamas for pre-production. And then I had to rethink everything. And so we were just always like a step behind. But we managed to make something beautiful, and the success of it was just, a great payoff.
What was the story about? Just a synopsis of it?
It's 4 lives intersect in the island of Eleuthera in the Bahamas, and 2 of the characters are gay. One's in the closet, and one's a woman whose husband is cheating on her. Her husband is a pastor, and the other guy is a preacher from another island, and 2 straight people, 2 gay people, but their lives intersect, and life lessons and whatnot. It touched a lot of people. It was it's not a light film,
right? And
happy.
And all these movies are actually available for anyone who wants to watch them. They can go to Amazon or Netflix or somewhere and actually check out these movies, right? I mean, 200 American, right?
200 American. I don't think it's streaming on Netflix, but I know it's on DVD, as well as Whirlwind. Whirlwind was streaming, but I haven't seen it there lately.
And Children of God is definitely.
Children of God, I know it's still on Showtime, I believe. It comes and goes on their rotation, and it should be available anywhere, Amazon or iTunes and Netflix.
We also had a discussion. I don't know if you want to get into this. It's up to you. You let me know. But we had a discussion about the marketing of Children of God, how it was totally fucked by the people you got to do it. I see your reaction, and I see the cat doesn't like it too. But I mean, the reason I bring it up is because it's just important to know that part of making a movie is marketing it, and you really need to take that seriously. And I know you did a lot of work for the actual marketing of Children of God.
Trivia Willis, who we worked with on Bloodline, also was my co-producer on Children of God. And herself, me, and Kareem, the director, we just decided to help out as much as we could. And at one point, it felt like we were the only ones really doing anything. But, poor Kareem, because he wrote and raised the money and directed it. And he, after the launch, the theatrical release here in the States, he went home and basically cried for 2 weeks. The poor guy.
Why? I thought you had a big event.
It wasn't. It was a big event, but it didn't. Nothing really lined up like we were hoping in terms of press and all that stuff. It could have been for a film that won 22 awards internationally and sold in 27 countries. I think everyone could have done something else. With just a smarter, not working harder, just smarter, and we did what we could, and it was a little disheartening to see how that worked out. But it went on to like I said, it's on Showtime, and it's doing its thing, and it has garnered a lot of recognition, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So what can you say? Once again, you have to live and learn and move forward. And every film I've done, I've had to learn some kind of hard knock lesson. And you can't begrudge it. You just have to embrace it and move forward.
Well, I bring this up because even if your film was acclaimed, everybody dug it, everybody wanted to see it, and then there's another step in the filmmaking process which a lot of filmmakers ignore. There's a whole marketing thing. You got to get it in front of people's eyeballs, and then if that sort of does not happen correctly, then you lose that momentum. You know what I mean? That momentum goes away that you've had from all those festivals, right? So I know you guys still did well. You still have it on Netflix. You still sold it to Showtime, I believe. But you're thinking it could have gone bigger. That's what you're thinking.
Well, when you have a theatrical release, that's a great opportunity, for press. And what you do is you use that as an opportunity to make the film seem bigger than what it really is. And that's all it is. Everything in this game, it's a game, and it's all leverage. And so, like Naked As We Came, that was a small film, but we got a theatrical release, and the amount of press we got was pretty amazing. And we still probably could have gotten more, but I mean, we got the New York Times and Huffington Post and Daily News and some great reviews.
So I'm going to show Naked in a minute, but how did you get all that press for that movie?
I hired a press, a PR person.
And she did her job.
And she did her job miraculously. So, I think I can't say enough about getting a press agent or a PR person. You got to have that, I think. A lot of people don't even think about that.
It's basically required now, right? Because you're fighting against an upstream current with a million other guys trying to do the same thing.
That's the thing. And so, you have to start being strategic about everything. And, and even now I'm in talks with that same press agent for Bloodline, and how do we move fast? Eden's career is kind of taking off. I don't know if you've heard about anything, but...
Well, you're jumping to Eden, but now you're on Bloodline again. Just tell us who's in the movie. We have some interesting cast, and no A-listers per se, but an interesting cast.
Do you want to get to that later, or do you want to...
Oh, yeah. Well, we can. You just brought up Eden. Nobody knows who we're talking about, but why don't we save it? Why don't I show the actual trailer for Naked right now, okay? Just so people see what we're talking about.
All right.
She does have a say in this,
No, she doesn't. She obviously can't care for herself anymore. Mom? Hello?
What are you doing here?
Nice to see you, too.
Hello, I'm Ted Kingsley.
I live here.
You live here?
Sometimes it takes something big to make you see how you screwed things up.
Elliot, she's playing you like a fiddle.
She told me she was a bad mother. How bad?
She didn't get mad. She got even.
So are you sleeping with this Ted character?
I wish.
You're very handsome.
What are you doing?
It's been a while.
No, it's cool.
It's just... all those talks about second chances. This is an opportunity.
I gotta say, that's your best looking movie. So I just wanted to show the folks, but tell us a little bit about the movie. That what is it about?
Naked as We Came?
Yeah.
Naked is it's about two siblings, a sister and brother, who come home to find their mother gravely ill and living with a handsome young stranger, and all hell breaks loose, and some life lessons are learned, I hope.
And this movie did really well in terms of just getting out there. It seems like everybody loved it. Well, except a couple of internet trolls, I think I read. But there's some IMDb folk I've read that are dicks. But it seems like a lot of people have loved it and were touched by this movie. And I was even shocked, because you never know what you're making until you see it finished,
Yeah.
So tell me about it. How far did it get? What happened to it?
What happened to it? What do you mean?
Well, you made it. You went to the festivals. Tell us about that whole process. You were all over the place.
Yeah. Well, why don't I start at the beginning, because it was really a rare experience in filmmaking, for me at least. I was originally supposed to do another film that had partial funding, and we didn't get all the funding, so I was pitching ideas. And I said to an investor, I have an idea. It wasn't even a script, and the guy said, I'll give you the money for that. And well, you know who it is, but
yeah.
So I said, all right. So I basically got the cast. I cast them, and then I started writing. And so I wrote a first draft, and then we all got together. We read it, and every 2 days they'd come to my apartment, and we would just read through the script. And then the next day I would write and rewrite, and then the next day they'd come in and we'd go through it again, and then the next day we'd rewrite. So this went on for over a month. And then when we showed up on set, it was kind of like they knew it like a play. And so then it was just about, making it look beautiful and trying to make it look real. So, which, you did an amazing job on that.
Well, in the truest sense, first of all, this was in the truest sense like an indie film, meaning that it was basically one location, but it was beautiful. We had the run of the place, a garden house type, where there's millions of rooms in this garden house. There's a huge forest, it's all beauty in the whole movie. It was hard to shoot something ugly, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It really was. I always say every frame of that movie is gorgeous to me. I love that film. But, so when we got it finished, put it out there, and it immediately was like, I think the centerpiece film in Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, and then from there it just went on. It was like opening night, closing night, centerpiece. It won a bunch of awards. 3 of them were audience awards. I think I got an offer for distribution before the 4th festival, and which is cool. And actually, it's before the first big one for Frameline here in the States. And yeah, so it's just kind of, you know, it got a lot of attention and a lot of love from the film festivals. And then when we released it, I got, you know, a press agent, and what's the name? I keep saying press agent. I don't think that's the word I want, but whatever. So PR person, and she got us some great press. And I remember the day after opening night, we got theatrical for a limited theatrical run.
How many theaters did you have it in?
That was more than what?
How many theaters? I don't even know how many theaters was that in.
I think in total it was like 3 across the country, so it wasn't much.
It's not a huge one, but it was. I mean, it was good theaters. I went to one of them in the city on 14th Street or something, or
yeah, that was a great theater. But I didn't expect that. And to have the New York Times give it a great review was kind of mind blowing to me. So it was. Yeah, and then after it was released on Netflix, forget it. I mean, I've literally been, it's kind of tapering off a little bit, but in the beginning it was like literally almost 800 people have written to me, and I talked to the cast too, and they've received letters too. So
only the DP doesn't get any letters,
right? They're holding it back from me.
No emails, no letters, nothing
at all.
No, obviously the cast was superb. So just to go back to the way you worked on the script, you had a rough outline for a script and you wrote it with the cast.
Yeah, I wrote a script, and then I used the cast to kind of rewrite it and mold it, and there was a real collaboration, and I think that's what I love about this whole movie from beginning to end. Even with you, I felt like, you know, everybody collaborated really well. There was a really nice vibe on set. It was, it just was a labor of love. It really was. So when I watch the film, I've seen it probably 1,000 times if I've seen it once, and I love it. It's got a special place in my heart. So I'm really proud of it, and I'll always remember what an amazing experience that was for me. Even if nothing happens, to get any accolades. You know, and now finally the money's coming in.
that's what we're about to get to.
Right? I was like, I deposited a check the other day. I'm like, all right.
Nice. Well, I mean, and this is good to know, because you were working on that. I mean, we shot this movie over 3 years ago, right? 3.5, something like that. And then it took you another.
Yeah.
Then it took you another 1.5 years at least to finish it, right? And then it took another year of festivals, right? Was that roughly the way it was going?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a long process. For anyone who's thinking about producing, directing, this is not a short thing.
It's funny. I always say, if you're gonna shoot a project, make sure you're in love with it, because you have to marry. You're married to it for years, and if you don't love it, it's going to be a horrible experience. So, you know, fall in love with the project before you shoot it. It'll make it much easier, because then it's just about passion, you know? Right.
No, I agree with you. You have to, and especially if you're going to be a director on something, you know, it just never ends. You're going to be there for years. So it would, like, basically what you said, if you're stuck on a project you don't want to be doing for years, that's disheartening, at least.
Well, it is. And then you got to sell it. You know, if you don't love it, why would anyone else love it?
Right. And then you got to fake it all the way through, basically.
Yeah. So
I think we're on to Bloodline. I can't show anything right now. You're going to have a clip for us, though, which I will incorporate. But, I mean, tell us, so you did these 4 gay-themed movies. The last one, Naked As We Came, wasn't exactly like the first 3, right? It was basically more of a drama with some gay content, right? Is that the way you sold it to me?
Yeah, it wasn't a gay story. It was a human story. It just so happens that 2 of the characters are gay.
But you went to mostly gay film festivals, is that correct? Or you actually went out
mostly,
there?
Yeah. Mostly, yeah.
Is that because you already had a built-in audience from your other movies and it was just easier?
Well, I was shooting for top-tier festivals like Toronto and South by Southwest, and my mistake was I didn't get a sales rep, which I should have, because they help kind of push that stuff, and I didn't. And so I didn't get into any of the top-tier festivals, and I was really disheartened. I'm like, oh shit, maybe this isn't good. And then the programmer for Boston, who really loved Children of God, reached out to me and said, have you finished your film? I'd love to see it. So I sent him a copy, and he literally called me back 3 days later and said, what do you think of closing night film? And I was like, what? And that's how it started. And all the programmers know each other. I didn't know that. They all talk. So just by him saying yes, Toronto Gay and Lesbian Film Festival and Miami picked it up, sight unseen. They hadn't even seen it. They just programmed it.
It shows it. It's who you know, not.
It kind of is, and so But once again, great learning experience. So with Bloodline, I can't take chances like that. So we have to have the PR. We have to have a sales agent. We have to have people pushing this thing beyond me, because my contacts don't get me too far.
So now we reach Bloodline. Tell us about, what is Bloodline? Obviously, we discussed a little bit about it, but tell us about it and who's in it.
All right. Bloodline is a story of a family of witches that has to perform human sacrifice to keep their power or be killed.
So I'm going to stop the podcast here for a second, because Rich was kind enough to get me a scene from the actual movie Bloodline. And this is a very rough scene. Obviously, the sound mix is not done, and dialogue is what was recorded on set and not fixed yet. So just make note of that. But otherwise, it's a fantastic scene, and I thank him for getting it to us. So here it is.
Kill you and everyone you know in an afternoon. If you ever speak to me as you did today, I will make you regret it. Is that clear?
Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that scene from Bloodline, and let's get back to the podcast, picking up where we left off with Richard Lemay about Bloodline.
I came up with this idea when I was, right after I'd heard of a home invasion in Long Island, and I was thinking, what would I do? And I started having rage fantasies, and it all turned into supernatural powers and trapping people and killing them. So
you're a sick bastard.
Yeah, right. That's how it started. So. Good family film. So yes, I wrote it, and
Well, you also wrote it.
My first choice.
Well, you also wrote it in an empty house, right?
Yeah, I wrote it in a glass house in the middle of 7 acres of forest, up in the woods in upstate New York, and as soon as the first sun set, I was shitting myself.
Right, you're all alone in the middle of the forest in a glass house.
Writing a story about home invasion, in a glass house. I was just like, fuck.
With demons.
So the demons don't scare me. Like, the home invasion that scares me.
Right.
But I went to bed every night with a fire poker. No lie. But
So you got an interesting actress to play the lead, which you want to tell us about that?
Eden Brolin. It's funny, just Josh Brolin's daughter, and she's just about the most talented, hardworking, sweetest soul. Her film, I Dream Too Much, has just been chosen to premiere at South by Southwest. So that's kind of fun for her. Richard Linklater produced it. So, I hope my wishes are all good things for her. She's wonderful. But when I saw her in auditions, I couldn't stop thinking about her. And there were some girls who were a little, bit bigger profiles as actresses, but she was it. And we're so lucky to have gotten her, because I think in 2 years from now, I'll never be able to afford her.
Right.
She just signed with Paradigm. Like, she's on the way up. She's moving, and she deserves everything because she's wonderful and she's hardworking. But yeah, so she was the lead, and we got an unknown guy who was amazing, Ross Wellinger, and Eric Nelson, who has been in a lot of different things, and he actually I forget the name of the movie. It's the new Chris Cooper movie. I think it's going to be premiering at Cannes Film Festival, and Eric is the third lead. So that's kind of a big deal for his career, and hopefully this movie as well. So we got a great cast, and they're just 3 out of 26 people. There were some great actors on set. It was a lot of fun.
And this is way bigger in scope than Naked, or a lot of your other movies, actually, right? Just like more locations, more things going on, bigger shots.
Yeah. Demons ripping hearts out of cages. The whole 9 yards.
We actually had a funky effects guy. What was his name? Dead, right?
Dead World Effects. And, he really created some good stuff. And when I look at it on screen in editing, I'm just blown away by it.
He was a character.
It looks... Yeah. We're all characters.
We're all characters in our own plays. But yeah, this guy's a definite character. I can't compare. So now you're in the post process. How long? Tell us, what is the timeline here? How long are you going to take? When are you going to actually start showing it and getting it out there, or trying to pitch it to distribution or festivals?
I would like to have the film finished by the end of April. So it's February 6th today, so hopefully by the end of April everything's done. But I also have to raise some money. So what we're going to do is, I'm hoping we're at picture lock in 2 to 3 weeks, and then we're just going to pack it with sound effects and a temp score, and then start actually not only looking for money, but looking for people who want to get behind it, as far as like producers, reps, and we're kind of hoping for Toronto Film Festival. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's my goal. And it would be nice to do their late night division. I think that would be a perfect spot for this.
How do you go into finding a producer rep and all of that? What is the process there? Just cold calling, or names of friends, or what?
Cold call. We've already had 2 who have inquired about the movie, and they want to see what we're doing. But it's going to be about cold calling and just interviewing people and seeing what they have to offer. And I think it's really about getting someone who's enthusiastic about the film.
Right, because it's still an indie film, and you still got to get people, which is hard, behind it that aren't just trying to bleed you dry immediately.
Well, I hate to say it, but not only is Eden a great actress, I feel, and just a joy to work with, but I think the fact that she's Josh Brolin's daughter is going to make people interested in it. And I think, I guess that's a side effect. Everyone is all like, "Oh, really?" That's how I've been interpreting my conversations, my limited conversations so far. Mm-hmm. Is everyone wants to know if she can act, and so obviously there's something there as far as interest.
Well, it brings up another.
I think the fact that she's a pretty girl who can really act, it's gonna.
Well, it brings up another point. Even though you did not get I've talked about this before with other people on the podcast, that you should always put someone of some recognition into your movie if you want to sell it, because it'll just make your life a hell of a lot easier. So you went a slightly different way. I mean, Eden is a great actress. I know I've worked with her. You worked with her obviously during the movie, but also just having that recognition that you can, let me check that out. You know what I mean? Let me see this. So no one's going to say no to watching your movie. That's what's good about this.
That is good. And I think I watch a lot of horror movies. Ad nauseum, I watch a lot of horror movies.
You watch like 100 for you watched like 100 for preparing to even shoot this, right?
And I've been watching. I probably watched 50 since we wrapped, just so as I'm editing, just to see what's out there. And 90% of them don't have any names in them because horror sells. It's a great genre. So I feel really optimistic that the movie will sell. But I have, like I said, I have lofty goals. I want to be directing big pictures. I would love to make this a franchise. I kind of see a series in there. So I'm really trying to put the care and attention that I put into Naked as We Came into this, and to see what it is already. It's already over. It's like an hour and 55 minutes right now, but tomorrow we're going to cut that down to about 145, and then we got to get it down to like 90. So
right.
Yeah, so it's just about where do you tweak all that. That's where it's going to be tough, I think.
I remember when we first worked on Naked. Naked was a very. It could have been bad. Do you know what I mean? Like if you got away with your ego, it could have been really bad, because that's a story that can lend itself, like, it could be a melodrama. It could be too soapy. And I kept telling you better cut this film down to something that moves along. And you did. You
said to me.
What'd I say? Exactly.
You said this is going to be a long film. And I said, no, it won't. And you said, yeah, that's what every writer says.
There you go. No, and what you actually, I think after that point I realized, especially after seeing it, that how serious you were about actually editing your own work, which is so important, that you don't need to leave in every joke, every line that you think is magic, and it just makes it better. It makes the whole...
I'm having to cut scenes out, whole scenes that I love from Bloodline, and it's killing me.
I'm sure it's killing, but it's the right thing. It's the right thing.
What's that?
I said it's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing. I can't be attached to that. I have to be attached to the story and the marketability of it. And no one wants a 2-hour horror movie with no names in it. That's the bottom line. So I think if...
Have you talked to distributors? Have you actually spoken to distributors already? Have they said, I want a 90-minute horror movie?
No, I haven't talked to distributors, but I've researched the marketplace quite often, and it really is about that 90-minute slot for a horror movie. That's what they want. I mean, you can go over, of course, but at the end of the day, if I feel that I have an hour 40 minutes and it's genius, then maybe I have to rethink it. But I really want to get it down to 90 minutes, and I don't know how that's going to happen at this point, but I'm going to have to really get serious about it. And it is about removing my ego and just thinking about how do you get this thing out there,
Yeah.
So
I want to close with, because me and you go back and forth. You were looking for, how do I move to that next level? You wanted to direct TV. You were like, we were actively discussing this. And then tell us, so you sent 10 emails and you started directing TV basically. So, I mean, you have a history. Yeah. Tell us about the story. Like you got representation.
I got back from Bloodline and I said, I need to rethink some stuff. So I sent out a bunch of emails to agents and managers and whatnot. And I heard back from a few and took some meetings, and I ended up signing with Pipeline Entertainment. And so far, so good. I'm really happy with them. I think not only have they gotten me 2 gigs directing a TV series, but they actually call you on set to make sure you're, being treated all right and make sure the day's going well. And I really value that. It's a real personal approach. And they encourage networking. They set up networking meetings for you, not only with producers from these TV places, but production companies and DPs and any people, writers, other producers, So it's been really advantageous in a lot of ways so far.
No, that's amazing. And
6 months.
No, but hold on. And they got you the first directing gig for TV, right? So now you're directing TV shows.
Yeah. So I've done 2 episodes of Mind of a Murderer, which airs February 19th, and that's exciting.
Oh, absolutely. So you went from like, how do I direct TV to 2 weeks later directing TV?
That's basically it. And let me tell you, that was a crash course in how TV works, because they just dropped me in. It wasn't let me guide you through it. So
and I'm sure you did fantastic. First of all.
Well, you know what? Thank you. I think I did, but I went in there saying I'm going to knock it out of the park, because I want more work, you know. And
oh yeah, you've probably cost 6 other directors their job. I said you probably have cost
What's
6.
That?
You've cost 6 other directors their job.
Right. I hope that's my goal. Yeah.
There are going to be starving directors out there because you're going to take all their shows.
Well, I tell you what, it was a great way to end the year and then start the year. I went away to the British West Indies for New Year's Eve, and I came back and immediately started working on a show. So it was fun. It's a great way to start the year.
Nice. Well, you're definitely going to be up there. Everybody watch for Richard Lemay. He is going to be making those A-list movies. I guarantee it. All right, dude. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Richard is just one of those filmmakers that has to make his movies, as you can tell just by listening to him. He's very passionate about what he's doing, and he's always doing 200% of anything he's actually doing. So you'd be lucky to have him in any capacity in your production, of course, as a director, as a producer, and that's why he's one of the few people that I've ever worked with in the last 10-15 years that I could say this guy's going to make it. So next week we have actually a treat. It's my good friend Carlos Almonte, who's a director and he's an editor, and he works for such channels as Showtime, ABC, etc. Don't forget you could email us at info@photographyofdirector.com if you have any show ideas or would even want to be on the show. Please let us know.